What's up, everybody, and welcome back to some more Too Cool for School. It's been way too long. We missed the past 2 weeks, and there was all sorts of rumors, alien abduction rumors, being eaten by sharks. Keen flew away, went south for the winter. None of those are true. It was really just a combination of me being busy and then me being sick. So it's all my fault. And tonight, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to catch up on week 4, week 5, look at week 6 briefly. But really, what I want to do tonight is take a look at how everything is shaping up as we get into the playoffs, the playoff brackets for season 2. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the marble rolls to identify what the maps are going to be, the very first map for each of those matches that will take place in the semifinals and finals. And then I want to go into some data, right? I want to open up the school season 2 master sheet and I want to go through and get a little bit of an idea of how players behaved during this season. Who did well, who didn't do well, what was different from season 1, and really just kind of like look and see some of the cool things that we have to work with and play with, and see how the teams might be expecting to go into season 3. But other than that, Keen, how you been, man? It's been a minute. What have you been up to?
I've been doing pretty well. I I guess we'll go over week four first. I ended up giving a walkover that week because I was like, I don't even really want to play Brood War anymore. I want to just like retire. But that lasted all of 1 week, and I'm back in the lineup because they blackmailed me. So,
They blackmailed you? What'd they
well,
do?
we were
Well, I guess
well.
you can't tell me, right? It would be too embarrassing or whatever.
No, no, no. What happened was we needed like a few more signups at the end, so I told Swad that I like pinged a bunch of people and I'm like, hey, sign up, and he's like, why should I sign up? If you're not gonna play, why should I play? And so like finally we came to an agreement where I told him I'd play if he played. So
Well, I am very glad for peer pressure. Growing up, they say peer pressure's bad, but it can be good. It can be good. Well,
yeah.
hopefully you enjoyed getting back into it. That's something else I wanted to talk about today, as we go through and look through some of these results from the past couple weeks, because what we've seen these past couple weeks is what's being referred to as crash out season. Like, I don't know what's in the water. Obviously, we haven't done Skull for a whole year yet, so we haven't really seen player behaviors throughout a year, right? But I
Mhm.
think that going into summer and coming out of a bunch of different tournaments and just like the grind that's been going on with StarCraft, ASL kind of coming to a close, people, jumping in all over the place. There was kind of like StarCraft overload. We're seeing a lot of players dropping out, or I would say pausing. I wouldn't say like quitting. I wouldn't say uninstalling forever, because no one ever really leaves Brood War for very long. I feel like once you've been hooked, you're always going to come back. I crash out probably twice a week on the stupid game,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I just know it's like, okay, well, I'll be playing tomorrow. Like, um, I'll get some sleep and come back to it. So yeah,
Yeah.
so you're
Yeah, this is
experiencing that
kind
a
of
little bit.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, this is just something that's it's like kind of the ebb and flow of the brew war community where it's kind of unavoidable. I mean, people, I think also some of the better players like Nesh and G5. G5 is still playing a CL for now, but he's like pulling back overall too. These guys are all competitive, and like after all these tournaments are going on, and they just get kind of like burnt out if they don't meet their expectations. So
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I see it in the chats. I see it in the team chats. Like, there's players, that really care about contributing to their team, and we'll look at some of the stats as well when we go into the Excel portion. But I know there's players out there that are just like, guys, I'm sorry. Like, they're feeling the pressure to perform, and maybe the matchups aren't going their way or whatever the case may be, and that's kind of being a little bit of a catalyst in crash out season, as it were. So anyway, let's go ahead and I want to make sure I'm snoozing ads. I'm going to try to stay on top of that for this. I don't want ads playing live in here. And then for UTAN folks, that is up and running. And I also wanted to mention, and I feel like it's important. It's kind of a thank you and also an apology. Like, thank you so much for the people that continue to give Prime subs, continue to donate to Skull and SCU. We are continuing money tournaments. That is a thing that is continuing. We've done the one bounty match as well. With Wolfix a while back, and so that 100% of all these funds are going into that. The apology part is that I've been very busy, right? Like we've missed a couple weeks of doing this, and I haven't been able to cast any matches since I think week 2. So very sorry about that. Thank you, Keen. Thank you so much for using your Prime sub this month. Yeah, Prime subs really do keep Skull going, and those money tournaments do, I think, keep the interest of some of our higher level players. So thank you, and again, I'm sorry. We're gonna try to do better on that front. Okay, let's go ahead and head over. And there was something really cool about week 4. So when we talked about week 3, we knew after week 3 was a full cycle, right? So every week, each team plays 2 other teams. That's the big thing for season 2, right? That was the big shakeup, the big format shift. After week 1, we left week 1 with such a tight score, right? It was like 27, 26, 24, 23, or something like that. But it was like separated by 1 among all the teams. Then we saw disparity, right? We had some good weeks in week 2 and bad weeks for others. We saw a little bit of a spread. What we were curious about was what would happen when the cycle restarted. If it would look like that again, or if maybe week 1 was kind of a fluke, right? Maybe the top teams were struggling week 1, and maybe the weak teams were just popping off. And I wanted to just kind of check that data point, because that's kind of where we left off a couple weeks ago. And look at these scores. Look at these scores from week 4. 2 ties at 12-12. We had 14-13 and 12-15. And something really cool about week 4 as well is if you look at our current top and bottom seed, right? Our current top seed is Savage. Our current bottom seed is Unhinged. And Savage only got 24 points in week 4, whereas Unhinged got 25. So Unhinged in these matchups ended up with a higher score than the top seed. And so I wanted to point that out because I thought that was so cool and so interesting that this lineup is the most balanced lineup in this league, is that round 1 and round 4 pairings. So
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, this is incredibly like all these matches were so close.
yeah, definitely.
Um,
And to be fair, there are a few walkovers and stuff. This is about when crash out season started. I think
yeah,
we're gonna see
yeah,
some of that.
it is what, like 6 total walkovers. Let's see.
It was a
Uh,
lot. There's 3 here. There's 3 just from this alone. 4,
yeah,
5, 6, and then we had 2 open slots from Unhinged.
yeah. Another crash out, at least from SUL, is Exit, who I guess another person bites the dust because of Tim. Tim just makes people quit, man.
Yeah, to making people quit. So that must have been this week. Yeah, I want to look at that. So let's bookmark that specifically, because when we get to the data, one of the things I'm expecting to see is the return on investment from some of these really high tier players. That's something I want to look at. I think Exit is a prime candidate to talk about, um,
Sure.
because he's a very, very high tier player, but he hasn't been participating every single week. And I think that's not just him, but it's common among many of them. One of the names you don't see popping up week after week is Semi, right? He had a fantastic season 1, performed really well in the SCU brackets, but he's also a very expensive player on the team roster and not necessarily participating, right? He's got busy life stuff, right? Nothing to do,
Yeah.
nothing, no bad blood there or anything. Just a very interesting data point. So is there any, as we go through, I don't want to spend too much time because 3 weeks is a lot to cover. I do want to spend
Sure.
the majority going through kind of data and talking a little bit about crash out season, but I think that can go hand in hand. Are there any big matches, though, that stand out from week 4?
I'm looking through it, and honestly, everything is pretty much as expected. I'm a little like I'm surprised that Killa Ace took a game off of G5. I'd be interested in watching that. But
Fun fact, it's
yeah,
the only map G5 has lost in Skull this season.
wow,
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
that's unexpected. I would have expected Mutua for sure.
yeah, that's a big one. A couple other interesting things I think from week 4, Doodle being slotted as the number 9 slot. I think that
Yeah,
that's
that
really
that was a head
interesting.
scratcher to me. I don't know. I don't know what Victor was thinking with that one, but well, he got the W, so there
He
you go.
did. He got the W. And again, like even then in the number 9 slot, Ronan was paired up against him in the number 9 slot. Ronan also a very strong player, so like this was almost being held in the back pocket waiting for whoever Chaos might be able to throw out there and then the response. So that was kind of neat. Tim, yeah, Killa getting a map off G5. I agree. That's definitely a very cool one. Some of the players we've been following, 9K against Anderson. Anderson is also an interesting player to kind of discuss and keep an eye on. He has hit just like an ascension arc throughout this season in the UPL, like USL, their version of like the ASL tournament.
Hmm.
Anderson is just stomping, and he got very good, very very fast. So definitely a player to keep an eye on. What
Well, I
else?
always, whenever hear people talking about him, everyone always says he's like very, very cheesy. But I actually think that's a really good way to play if you're like a newer or lower level skilled player, because it just like forces you to learn micro, and it like forces your opponents to play against what you're doing rather than playing their own game plan. So I think it's like I think micro is the hardest thing to learn. So any aggressive strategy where you can just learn how the units work in different situations is good.
Yeah, I would agree. And I was talking to Anderson a while back when I was trying to get better, and that was kind of his recommendation was like, hey, get some aggressive builds, and really focus on the fundamentals of like the micro aspect and getting the clean execution. And then from there you can build upon that. And I took that to heart. And a lot of my TVP matchups are like, they're two facts, right? And they're working, and I'm learning, and I'm getting better. And so I think you're right in the sense of that being a huge stepping stone in the learning aspect of it. I think Anderson did do that, but I wouldn't say that he has a reputation of being all cheese all the time. But I think he's a lot more well-rounded than the reputation gives him. But there's that tax. I always call it the Anderson tax, right? Where you have to send that extra SCV to go scout the map because you just don't know. Like if
Mhm.
anyone was going to do something really wonky, it's going to be him. And having that reputation is actually kind of an edge. So very cool. Good to see him doing well. Looking through some of these others, um, nothing really standing out super high. I guess right here, Pandor getting the walkover from Ozzy. Ozzy stepped away. I think around this time. Was it about 2 weeks ago where he decided to take a step
Yeah,
back from StarCraft for a bit?
yeah,
Okay, so he's one of our players that we can kind of talk about when it comes to crash out season, static remap. Okay, very cool here. Some scheduling issues. Life is getting busier. That's what I've learned from these past couple of weeks is that summer in the northern hemisphere at least not good for scheduling. Um,
yeah.
okay, cool. Anything about week 4 you want to touch on?
Nah, I think we're good.
All right, let's move on to week 5. So week 5, this was interesting. So we were just talking about how week 1 and week 4 very tight, very balanced, very similar scores every single team. Week 5 was different. Week 5 was a rough week for Unhinged. It was a really rough week.
Yeah,
Um,
it's geez.
12 points total, and for context, the week prior they were scoring 12 points per matchup, right? Like 12 points for a
Mhm.
week is kind of rough, right? It's kind of rough. They had 3 slots that were forfeits based on availability of players or players willing to play. And so that was pretty interesting to note. Chaos having a very strong week, and Savage, like this is one of those things that really increases that delta in the seeding chart, right? When we have the top seed and the bottom seed play, and the score disparity is so damn high. We had a 16 point spread here, which I think I'm gonna do a quick little check. This might be the biggest win.
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because everything else looks like normal scores. right? Like a couple really strong wins here and there. This one's rough. 21-0, that's big. That's a big swing.
Yeah. Um, we speculated before that maybe like near the end of the season, teams would try to coordinate and put their like strongest lineup against us to maybe like lodge us out of first place. But like, I don't think it's possible after this week anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you need we're too late in the game, I think, at least when it comes to unhinged. And when we go to the spreadsheet, we can look at it. I mean, we can take a peek here, but just know that the website doesn't count the current week in the standings page, right? So if we look here, we have Savage as of the end of week 5, so last week, 152 leading the way, and then Unhinged at 101, and then Legion and Chaos flip flopping. Every week they're like trading who's seed 2 and seed 3. Very, very similarly ranked teams there. Let me go back to the rounds. Okay, so again, don't want to spend too much time here, but anything jump out at you?
Let's see. Um, well, I guess what jumps out at me a little bit is we're starting to see, and this gets even worse when we look at week 6, but we're starting to see Unhinged really struggle to fill out their lineup and putting some pretty weak players into their top threes. So, and they're getting punished for it. Like, like Kiko and Wolfix against us isn't too bad, but we just got good matchups for them. But like Nomad versus Memnon is just a horrific mismatch. Um, and that is like rippling through the rest of their lower level matchups too.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that
So
up. Yeah. No, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well when we go to the data or whatever. But like we were just talking about the previous week with a player like Exit, right? Like let's say Exit was here instead of Memnon, right? Then Memnon can be used. I don't know. Pick your other matchup, right, against a more
yeah,
fair opponent like IJ, or maybe
yeah,
and then it trickles down, right? Like you can
yeah.
just like shift everything.
Least and Slur could probably have taken wins against like Quim or I Am So Cool or something.
Yeah. Who's here? Oh, it's Escalade. What's up, man? What's up? Sharkira going nonstop. Okay, so yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting point. Um, you bring up Doodle and Wolfix, and this is another interesting thing. Doodle's on a hot streak against Wolfix. So like season 1, not the case. The first like 4 money tournaments were basically just donations to Wolfix. But we're now getting to the point where Doodle is like has got him figured out. I don't know if it's
Mhm.
Doodle changing something, Wolfix being a little less active, um, but this is like a streak at this point because whenever Wolfix gets presented against Savage, Doodle's put right, like Doodle's placed there, um, and he comes out on top.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think Wolfix hasn't been super active lately, and I think Doodle probably did figure him out. I've mentioned in the previous weeks that like I think Doodle's late game PvT is terrifying. Like his shuttle High Templar style is so good. Maybe the best I've seen of that particular style from a foreigner, honestly. Um, and I think if he gets out of the early game against Wolfix, he's just going to be really far ahead and really hard to deal with for Wolfix in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to strengths as well, I'd say Wolfix's early game is the strength. So it's like if Doodle can play the game and survive like the first 8 minutes or so, then maybe like the scales kind of tip in his favor. So that's been an
Yeah,
interesting
definitely.
one to keep an eye on. Looking over here, a lot of 2-0s. We had some good fights though. Rennick versus Nightcat, Silky versus Badger. I like seeing Badger get to play. Badger again, a newer player, has been kind of placed in these forfeit slots a couple times. I think when we go to the data, I think Badger's punching above his weight class on wins because of the wins counted from those. What else do we got? Uh, Bunch of 2-1s here. Holy cow! So Legion versus Chaos again. Like these two teams, I don't think. I don't know. We'll have to look at the bracket because if all things remain equal, right? Savage is number 1 seed, Unhinged is number 4. Those two face off Oh yeah, yeah. So they will. So in the first round of playoffs, if Savage versus Unhinged is one of the games, the Legion versus Chaos match on the other side of the bracket is going to be fire. Like that is going to be such a fun just team versus team match that might end up going all the way to like the very last series on who gets the
Hmm.
W for that week.
What happened with the draw between both Pandora and Jedi One just
Straight
were
up
they not able
scheduling.
to?
Yeah,
Oh,
they just did
oh,
not schedule.
okay. Yeah, that kind of makes sense now because I think Flash for the win is playing Jedi this week, and he was having a pretty hard time getting a hold of Jedi One.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I think it was like a little bit both and a little bit like maybe neglectful from both. I don't remember the entire story, but I remember when this was going down and the captains were talking about it in the captain chat. It really was just like a hey, like default time isn't an issue here. Like they just aren't gonna be able to play. And this was the first time a true draw has happened where it hasn't been a forfeit due to default time or anything. And it kind of broke our
Hmm.
system a bit. Like Champion needed to go into the website and like make this a thing that you could actually annotate because it wasn't originally like in the programming or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. That was week 5. Going into week 6, not a whole lot to report on yet, and that's generally the trend. Most of the games occur over the weekend. If we go and look at Unhinged, they were able to field all but 2 slots, right? Two. They've been able to field about 18 every week, which is pretty strong. Um, but again, some high-profile names not really located here. Some differences in names. Consistency has been kind of a little bit of a struggle, but I like what they did here. They were able to um, load their matchup against Savage because of the forfeit that's also present for Legion. So they're not alone
Hmm.
this week in having an empty slot. So this
Yeah.
is much less impactful this time.
Yeah. Again, like it. Yeah, it looks like so. This is a case of Unhinged trying to also like put their best lineup against us, but I really don't think it matters. Because I don't think there's almost like no combination of scores that would realistically happen that would get us into second place, and Unhinged is definitely going to stay in last place. And again, like, ah man, it's painful looking at their top three against Legion because none of those guys belong in the top three realistically.
Yeah, but it's still taking slots that they can't use against Chaos. That's what's so cool about this format, right? Like the stacking. Like the captains, like
Hmm.
I hope they're not doing this in isolation. I think sometimes maybe they are, but I really do think there's unexplored territory in how you strategize week to week in stacking your lineups. I don't know if it's worth it or not worth it to maybe say, let's just give one team the weaker players and throw our bets on this other side, right? Like
Hmm.
we have a higher chance of winning over here and denying points for these players. How about instead of trying to knock down Savage from getting number 1 seed, we try to get number 3 seed, right? Like change the focus, right? Like let
Yeah,
them have
yeah,
it, right? And instead, let's try to claw up the ladder just one spot, right? Because that's what you're really fighting for. It's second seed fighting
sure,
for first
yeah.
seed and fourth seed fighting for third in the way that this format's built out. So, unexplored territory there. That's pretty cool. Right now, kind of a rough start against Legion at the moment. Still plenty of games to be played. Savage, strong opening up against Chaos. Not seeing anything too crazy here. Mevius 2-0ing Rice Hat. Well, I guess that's pretty standard. Both these players, I think 3-3 for the season after that. So these are kind of like this is your line of like steady, gonna earn you points kind of skill level right there. Mueller versus your cube. Yeah, it's a lot of crazy matchups. Very different from season 1.
Yeah, I think we're going to beat Chaos pretty handily. I I don't know. I think Mazer and Vahens are probably losses for our match against Unhinged, but feeling pretty confident in everything else. Um, Yeah, I don't think we're going to see. Let's see. So it's between Chaos and Legion for second and third spot.
Yeah.
Um, oh man, these are some good matchups in Chaos versus Legion, though. Like Mars versus Remap and Tim versus Pandora, I think, are like really close matches. So those should be good games.
Definitely some fun ones to watch here. I'm curious to see how Killa Ace does against Gigi Nori, um, especially after coming off that win from G5 as well, right? Like Killa Ace really showing some strength against Protoss. One thing to note as well, which is again an interesting part of this format that I'm finding as we're kind of concluding the round robin aspect, is the timing in which these matches are occurring, right? It's the final stretch. It's every win matters to try to get that seeding so that you can try to either avoid the playing against the first seed or being the first seed. And so what Legion is looking to do is secure their number 2 seed, right? Maybe they can take number 1 seed, but Savage is pretty far ahead. And the key thing to note is that who's playing unhinged, right? Like that's kind of where a lot of teams are able to get a lot of points. You already see Legion getting 10. So
Yeah,
Chaos has to have a hell of a week against Savage in order to maintain that 2 seed if Unhinged were to break into the 3rd seed. So just some interesting strategy things. I think the points are kind of already where they're at, and it's not going to affect the playoffs too much.
yeah. I do think that because Legion is going to get a lot of points against Unhinged, they have a pretty decent shot at getting to second place.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And Mevius, you're asking a bunch of questions about playoffs, and so I think it might be a good time we can go ahead and transition over there. So for playoffs, yes, we do know the format. It's been published, and I think we've talked about it. Sorry for blinding everyone with this screen. Let me just see how that's looking. But if you go into the master sheet, right, we have the finals bracket, and I'll zoom out real quickly just to show the overarching kind of like format. How this is going to look is the 1st seed and 4th seed are going to play their match. The 2nd seed and 3rd seed are going to play their match. Now, where this playoff bracket is not perfect is that you have to win your first match to even be eligible for the championship, right? So the winner of each of these matches will go to the championship round. These two teams are going to be playing for 1st place and 2nd place. And then that's it, right? Whoever wins gets 1st, whoever loses gets 2nd. What we saw from season 1 was the gauntlet format. It wasn't fun for teams to have weeks where they didn't play, right? In order to make this a full opportunity bracket for all teams, then they would need to we'd need to like have weeks where not everyone played. So the loser from each of these matches will then go into the competition for 3rd and 4th place, right? So if you lose your first match, that's it. The highest you can get is 3rd. That's just going to be the way it is. So where seeding matters is really you want to not face the number 1 seed. And if you're the number 1 seed or able to get to be the number 1 seed, you want to face the number 4 seed, right? So each of these positions kind of has their pros and cons, right? If you're 3rd place, you really don't want to be overtaken because then you're going to have to face ideally the strongest team, right? The strongest roster. So that's kind of where the incentives lie on there. How it's going to work on a match by match basis is the maps we're gonna go ahead and we'll do the marbles here soon. We're gonna pick the first map for each of these matches. We'll do it right now. We'll do it for all 4 of these matches. The first match will be on that, and then it'll be loser's choice. Every single match will be best of 3. The format is going to still be 20-player rosters, but instead of the top 3 being bonus points, it's going to be the top 6. So it's just like you did in the round robin, except it's all focused against one team, right? And so, excuse me, to answer your question as to is it going to be the highest points? Is it going to be to a certain number of points for victory? Really, that's the same thing, right? Sequencing isn't going to matter in this one. Every match is going to get played, right? So I guess to answer that question, I would say the end total map win count is what's going to determine the winner. Now, if you're halfway through, right, what is this? 6 times 3, 18, and then however many cells this is, 14, 28, whatever. What is that? 44. So if you get 23 map wins on your team before all the matches have been played, you know you won, right? But we're still going to play all the matches. So either way you want to track it on your team or personally, I think whatever my math was, +1 from half of all the available map win scores is going to be the line. Okay. Does that answer your questions, Mevius? You good? I hope so. This will be pretty clean, be pretty cut and dry. 2 weeks, then champion. Any thoughts on the format, Keen?
No, I mean, I kind of figured this is how it would be. I didn't even look at this beforehand, but yeah, it just makes sense. I mean, it's just a continuation of what we've been doing all season, except now we're doing one match a week, so it's going to be 20 players. I do, I guess maybe it's did, and I'm sorry if I was just zoning out and you didn't address this, but like, there isn't really that much difference between seed 2 or seed 3, right? Because they are just going to play themselves regardless.
You mean for competing for those seeds?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you're seed 2, your goal should be to try to be seed 1, right?
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're
yeah.
seed 3, your goal should be to not be seed 4.
True.
Um,
Yeah,
like that's kind of where it comes down. It just so happened that over the course of these 6 weeks, now we still have week 6 to play out, right? Something could happen. Who knows? But just the way
yeah,
this season happened to go, the spread is pretty far. Like we have two polar teams and then Chaos and Legion basically equal, right? Like in the middle. So it's going to be kind of tough for either of them to either get knocked out of the number 3 slot or overtake the number 1 slot. It just kind of worked out that way.
yeah. That's kind of a bummer that Unhinged was also affected by the crash outs, so they got really kind of screwed in the last couple weeks.
I think everyone was. I think the team that was least impacted. I might have to double check this when we go into the players and like look at the numbers and stuff. I think Chaos was actually least impacted by the crash outs.
Yeah,
I know Legion had a slew of players over the course of the season that are taking some time off. Savage as well, right? Unhinged
right.
as well, which it was I would say a bigger impact for Unhinged because they were kind of on that line of having enough participation every week as it was.
Yeah, yeah. It's just relatively speaking, it hurt them the most.
Yeah, where otherwise I think they'd be strong. But honestly, like maybe a rough season going into playoffs for Unhinged. I reading the tea leaves and we'll talk about this a little bit. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be okay. I think that the rebuild phase, might take this season, but I think going to season 3, they're going to be looking pretty. Um, yeah, so let's go ahead and do marbles. What I did do, this was a decision that I made with the captains. I removed Jane Doe from the first map pool. No one wants to. We don't want to see an entire an entire round of everyone playing that for the first map. So Jane Doe's not going to be incorporated on this. All the other
Man, I
maps
wish.
are.
Honestly, I wish it was Fighting Spirit instead of Jane Doe. I hate Fighting Spirit now.
Yeah, Ronan, what's up, man? Good to see you. And also, someone else followed earlier. I forgot to thank you, but thank you so much. I think it was Hit 'em Up SC. So good to see you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying school. So okay, hold on. I gotta allow Ronan's message. Oh, he's pissed off, or you're happy. Either way, it is what it is. Um, so let's go ahead and roll these. What I want to do, let's just make this efficient, right? I don't want repeat maps on these matches anyway. So the first map that wins the race will go to the number 1, number 4 seed match. The second one will go to the number 3, number 4 seed match, or number 3, number 2. I'm going to confuse everyone with the numbers. Bottom line, from top to bottom, the first 4 maps are going to be used. Okay, we'll populate the master sheet. So let's go ahead and rock and roll. Here we go. They're off to the races. Attitude with a strong lead. Neosylphid coming in close, but it gets bumped off course. Fighting Spirit, Keen's favorite map, making a beeline for the bottom. Oh, here comes Neosylphid, but will it get knocked by the Wheel of Fortune? Polypoid overtaking. We need like a horse race announcer. Oh my god. There it is.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, so we
But
got our maps, y'all. So Fighting Spirit will be the map for first and fourth seed. Neo Sylphid will be second and third. Polestar will be the championship map, and Match Point will be the third place map. So I'll go ahead and update that after we are done tonight, but that's where they will be placed. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Any thoughts on the maps?
just that I probably shouldn't have said anything, I guess.
You jinxed it hard, dude. You jinxed it hard. All right. Well, that will be fun to see. There's 30 years of freaking fighting spirit meta and cheeses that people can go study if they want to prepare for that. Okay. Now, the meat of what I wanted to talk about today was with the player stats, and there's a few aspects to this, right? I kind of want some foreshadowing on maybe what the award ceremony will look like, right? Like who's doing the best, who's maybe struggling. Um, Maybe look at some per buck kind of data, which I don't think I have this sheet set up for that, unfortunately. But I thought, like, I was looking at that the other day, and I thought that was kind of cool. And then
Yeah, I saw you made a post about it.
yeah, it was a total accident, right? I meant to send it in the UPL Discord, and I was just like, "Hey, look at the top 10 players for bang for buck. It's like a bunch of UPLers. You guys are all undervalued, like freaking punching above your weight class here." And then I want to look at the interesting thing that's going to be coming up for the next season, which is the first time we're going to be introduced with the inflated contracts, right? And so I think that that would be really fun. And Mevius, I agree. It's just a little bit more for me to track. For season 3, I might throw it in there. I think the map wins and losses are really interesting um, as a stat. So anyway, let's go ahead and just see who's the top performers right now. I think that's fun. Let's go ahead and look at season 2 wins, and I also want to. Well, maybe we'll just start with wins, but I also like looking at the participation, right? It's a little tough right now because week 6 is not complete. So it's a little skewed, right? Like some people have played, some people haven't. Let's go ahead and look, right? So we have Doodle with 5 wins, 0 losses, G5, 5 wins, 0 losses. Now, one thing to note, I don't know if Doodle has played. Doodle has played. So Doodle does not have perfect attendance. This is as high as he'll go. But G5 still has a match. G5 will be facing up against Mazer. Do you think G5 is going to have a perfect season, Keen?
I think he'll probably win against Mazer. I think he's the favorite, but he is, like I said, kind of stepping back and only really playing his SCL matches right now. So maybe Mazer could have an upset.
Mm,
It's also PvP, so
it is PvP.
high variance.
Yeah, very true. But G5 is the only remaining player that could go 6-0 during the round robin. Now, obviously, playoffs still matter. Playoffs still count. There's still a chance maybe G5 misses a week. Doodle comes in, freaking sweeps all the matches he plays. So just sitting right now at the end of week 6, there's a possibility where during the regular season, G5 could be our star player. And I wanted to I was looking at this data, and it was really interesting because there was already a deviation from season 1. In season 1, you know what? I might be able to pull that up. Hold on. I want to show this because I think it's an interesting data point. So forgive me real quick while I try to find this. Gosh, dang it. Can't find it. All right, well then I'll just go off the top of my head. So in season 1, we had the MVP tag, right? The MVP tag was given to players that played every week and they were undefeated throughout the season. Now, it was a shorter season. There was different formats, best of 1 opportunities and things like that. But there was like a lot of players. I think there was like 7 total or something like that were undefeated. Maybe a little less, but a handful. We're not there. Like there's only 1 player right now that is eligible for undefeated played every week. Um, so yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know if that's a format thing, people attendance thing, or what. Okay, let's go ahead and combine wins with attendance. So if we look at, oh no, that's win percentage. All right, so if we look at wins per attendance, G5 goes away because he's only played 5 of the 6 weeks, right? But if we look at having all 6 weeks already counted for, we have 5 players that are eligible for Ironman Award right now. So if these games happen for week 6, then we have a lot more Ironmen being eligible. And already we can see that this number is pretty dang low compared to season 1. Season 1, we had a shit ton of players that played every week. And you know what? I think everyone in the 83% has a chance to play every week as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
maybe
I was
that
thinking
was a
it's the
hot take.
opposite.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's going to be a ton more, especially because you know teams have to field 20 people, so it's like everyone feels compelled to sign up every week.
Yeah, you're right. I was way off. I was looking at this completely incorrectly. Damn week 6 screwing me up. So we have 40 players as of right now that are eligible for the Iron Man award if they keep continuing to play every single week. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Okay, so that's just a little snapshot of like our high performers here, right? Our high performers. I want to look at some of these names though. So we have Harry, right? 5-1, very strong for him with a 45 contract cost. That's huge. Doodle, G5, we already talked about. Tom also playing every week, getting some wins at a 71 cost. Nomad Grass. Okay, so these are some of our strong players. Then we're starting to look at some of the bang for buck, right? So like Strom, she came up in the conversation. 27 SKU bucks, 4 wins. That's huge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's actually surprising how many of the like big expensive players aren't even in here, like in the top 20 or whatever. Like even Mars is kind of low
Yeah,
with
but
only
that's
3-2.
that's what's so cool about this data, right? Is because you can't just look at that. Like if you're trying to optimize, which the teams should be, and I want to touch on it here in a little bit with the costs, because teams are about to get a wake up call when it comes to how expensive their teams are. And I want to walk through that. And it kind of ties back to why I think Unhinged is going to be, they're going to be okay. All right. It's going to take some time, but they're going to be okay. Um, but you can't just look at for bang for buck because if you fill an entire roster with some of these players that have high win loss ratios, that's going to flip flop because they're not being paired against high skill players. Maybe not all the time, right? Mars may have a 3-2 record, but he's getting put up against these dudes, right? Like these top
Yeah.
tier like G5s, right? And nomads and stuff. So I don't know what the variable is there to try to optimize that other than just who's the best, right?
Yeah, it's you need the top players ostensibly because you want to have some sort of chance against other teams' top players. But I think there's something to be said for like maybe next season Unhinged like really focuses on spending all their money on like mid to like high low tier players, if that makes sense, to try to like really fill out their like get a lot more players so they know that they won't have forfeits each week and also get wins strategically in like the midsection of the lineup rather than focusing on like taking out the heavy hitters.
Now, if I now it depends what the free agency bracket like pool looks like. I agree, right? If it's consistent like it has been the last couple seasons with huge handfuls, huge swaths of players coming into school and having a big draft, I would agree. And I think I only agree for season 3. Like if we're talking draft strategy right now, there's a couple big things to look at, and we can touch on them, but after the players. But the first one is team budget based off of their contract costs. The contracts inflating 10% every season is a pretty big deal. The second thing is what happens after season 3, which is going to be the great contract expiration. So everything you see here, whoop, everything you see here, the season that says it ends is the season in which they need to be in the free agent pool, right? And so if we go like this, Okay, these ones are annotated for a specific reason. But everyone that you see with a 4 goes into the free agent pool unless they're traded after season 3. That's 69 players. Nice. So that's going to be a huge shakeup. And it'll be the healing opportunity from the 75% rule that didn't quite work out with how we wanted this league to go. Okay, want to have some fun?
Sure.
Let's look at losses. Let's look at losses. Who is eligible right now for sacrificial lamb? My man Melodved. My man Melodved. Applause to
Uh,
Melodved showing up every week. Showing up every week and just getting beat up. Love it.
yeah, if I remember correctly, he is one of the guys with like the true noob role on the Discord, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it feels bad, but I mean, at least he's getting the experience playing. He's not even really sacrificial lamb in the sense that I don't think there's uh
He's
I
not being
mean,
thrown up
I don't think
against Doodle and Wolfix and stuff like that.
yeah, he's being sent against probably the best people for him, but he's still so new. I guess he's just always the sacrificial lamb.
I love it. I love it. Like seriously, all the love in the world. This is not a mark of shame. Like get out there, keep playing, show up for your team. As we've already been saying, like those free slots aren't doing anyone any favors. This is someone that's going to show up, get better. Season 3, season 4, start freaking crushing it. Love to see it. Badger, we got Dopa. Now this one's an interesting one too cuz Dopa is actually like good, right? So we were talking about how the bang for buck isn't a perfect statistic because you
Hmm.
you got to look at the context in which like these players are playing. Like Dopa is super strong and also getting better every day. So 1-4 record, interesting. Mr. Peanut Butter, I love Mr. Peanut Butter. He's our only random player in the entire league, and I love that so much. I wish we had more of them sprinkled in.
Hmm.
Um, Ronan came back for this season. Love to have him as well. Getting paired up against really strong players, right? I think we were looking back at one of the matches where he was mentioned. I think it was Doodle. It was the Doodle match where they were both slotted at number 9. Like, yeah, it's gonna happen, right? Like it just works out that way. So this is really interesting, and I think that this, if I was a captain, right, and we look at the win loss ratio, you can look at the bang for buck and see if there's opportunities there to increase like the skill level of your team. But I think this is an indicator to captains that they are pairing incorrectly.
Yeah,
Like that's what this tells me.
yeah. I think if you're on a team where like you know, um, definitely a guy like Killa Ace, but maybe even Kiko or GG Nori, it's like I know they might be your like top 3 or top 6 players or whatever, but you might want to consider putting them into the lower parts of the bracket and saving them for a match that you know they can win instead of having to put them against a player who's like a level above them that they'll probably lose to. Because then you're
Yeah.
just wasting your talent.
Or even get more serious about it too. Like, hey, we're gonna train you just ZVP. Like that's it. Like not only just like targeting lower skill players specifically, but like going into the next week, you're like, I'm gonna train you to beat, I don't know, pick a name, noob tier, right? Like we are gonna make you the noob tier sniper. You know what I mean? That way you can make that matchup pay out for you. So this is just an interesting data point that I wanted to point out. This is not meant to embarrass anybody. Cool thing, like Mevius did point that out. Mevius has the lowest record with when it comes to loss counts for Savage, tied with many others, I should say, but I guess he popped up here first with 3 losses. Pretty incredible that Savage doesn't have a single player with 4 or more losses. So no one has lost more than half of the weeks on Team Savage as of yet. So pretty intense. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
all mostly unhinged and chaos. So pretty interesting there. I have it sorted by losses, then wins. Okay, that might be why it's all jacked up. Or not necessarily jacked up, but showing you up here with the 3-3. Okay. Yeah, so pretty cool. Now, I want to see something else. I want to look at participation, and I want to look at low participation. So these are some of the names that we were talking about earlier, right? Like
Yeah,
Toss, right? Like that's a player who hasn't played this season at all, sitting with a
and
$100
they spend a
bankroll.
hundred dollars. That's crazy. Yeah, wow. I wonder what
Semi,
happened there.
Semi's another one.
Radley
AOT,
not
thank
playing.
you.
Radley not playing at all this season is rough too. I didn't realize. I totally forgot that he hadn't played this season. Wow.
Yeah, remember we were worried Exit and Radley would be on the same team and that like Skull would just
Well,
be burnt to the ground.
I don't think that was the problem. I have some things to say about Exit. If you
Well, I don't want to go too deep on drama, but if there's like data or what?
oh well, I just minor drama, I guess, but like part of the reason he's not playing is just because he has an attitude problem and he doesn't like the fact that his team is losing, so he refuses to sign up now.
Well,
Not
no,
because
that
of like a crash out or inactivity.
and that's an interesting point, right? I almost meant to bring it up, right, when we were talking about how the unhinged attendance issue has gotten worse over time. I don't think it's just summer. I think there's a little bit of bandwagoning attitude, right? Like, well, what's the point, right? Like, we're losing, blah blah blah. Whatever. That's internal to the team. They can figure it out. There's anyone that's played on a sports team. Uh, you got to show up when you can, right? You're only going to get better. It's not going to help if you don't show up. Um, but yeah, that's unfortunate to hear. But yeah, like Semi's a big name. Vile, he is another player that like retired for the moment.
Yeah,
Celtox is interesting because he's always looking for games.
yeah. I don't know what happened. He hasn't chatted or anything, participated in the team at all. I'm surprised to see Neocean. I felt like Neocean was pretty active. I don't know if he stopped
Oh
playing.
yeah. Like look at all these players. and you can see like it's spread all over the place. And I was saying I think Chaos is the one least hit, right? Like but they still lost Toss not participating. Radley, I didn't even realize he was on Chaos. But yeah, I see in the chat like he suffered a hand injury. And if he's the person I'm thinking of, is he the one with like a nail that went through a finger? Like
Oh
it
fuck!
was like no joke.
Wow,
Uh,
that's crazy.
it wasn't just like I'm sore because I game too much. It was like I need surgery kind of thing. So yeah, I hope he comes back because I really liked watching Radley's games and he's very good.
Oh yeah,
We
Nesh only playing 2 games. I thought Nesh actually played a little bit more, but that's rough. Yeah, spending $180 on like your star player and then having them leave after 2 games.
Yeah, exactly, and that's an unhinged player too, right? So I don't want this whole thing to be like unhinged had a rough season, but it's unavoidable. We got to talk about it a little bit because it matters, right? We don't
Yeah.
want that to be a continued thing. I've been very vocal about that, but I also know we can't knee jerk reaction. I think the system is going to work. Like just numbers game and with the assumption of the decisions if they remain as good as they have been from the captains and everyone participating, it's going to even out. We just got to recover from the 75% rule that affects a lot of these players. So yeah, Nesh not showing up. That was a bummer. He was a huge source of wins for Unhinged in season 1. And
Yeah.
and Scoobucks, I think. I think he was a pretty big earner as well. There's Thenia. Yeah, it's just been interesting looking at the data on who's been participating, who hasn't been, who's been winning, who hasn't been. But this is interesting because this season, like last season, we did a thing, right? We implemented the contracts. And I mentioned over here that there were contracts that were kind of marked for a reason, right? We didn't want to just drop players for inactivity when we were implementing contracts. We wanted to make sure that everyone had a fair shake to come back to their team, that we had enough players. There was too much uncertainty. So we marked them with a contract type of 1. In the event they didn't participate again, they would just be dropped. They would just be
Hmm.
dropped from the league back to the free agent pool. And so that's who these players are. One of them has returned, right? So like Silky, he's back. So he's going to revert back to a 2 contract. But what this means for players this time is that if we have participation of 0, teams can just drop you, right? Like
Hmm.
they have a budget to handle now, and I kind of want to transition to the budget side. But like if you're not playing, then teams can put you back into the free agent pool and it'll count as a resignation unless they speak up and they're like, yeah, no, keep me, right? Like I'm still here. But like players that are AFK, like there's no point in keeping them on the roster and all that
Yeah.
because these guys cost SCU and some of them a
Yeah.
fair
Like
amount.
I would really hate to see Semi get dropped, but like he's just busy with personal stuff. I mean, it is the summer for him, but I'm pretty sure he's probably doing like internships and stuff of that sort still. So it's like he's another one of those really competitive players who just like if he doesn't have the time to put in to really get to a level he respects himself at, then he doesn't want to play at all.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. I think if this were to occur and Semi were to be like, yeah, just drop me back to the free agent pool, if he were to ever come back, he'd be picked right back up, right?
Oh, for
Like,
sure, yeah.
yeah. And so there's a couple questions that my comments have kind of brought up. So Mevius, you're asking, do players automatically go back to the free agent pool if they're inactive when contracts run out, or do they have to sign up again to confirm they are playing? So contracts running out and being dropped are two very different things. So how this works, and it needs to be written out. It's on my to-do list of things. I need to completely rewrite the rule book just so it's more clear and all this contract shenanigans are in there. If you're inactive for a season, you're considered like droppable. Like a team can just drop you. If you say, hey, I'm actually still here. Sorry, I had life shit. Like I'm back. I'll participate. Cool. The team will keep you, right? Or they can still drop you or whatever. If you get dropped from a team for either inactivity or budget constraints, like a team can't afford you, you immediately go into a pool where other teams can bid on you. It's like a draft before the draft for your base price, right? And there's a whole system around that, but basically there's going to be an interim opportunity for other teams to have priority to pick you up if you get dropped because of budget or inactivity. If you don't get picked up, you go to the free agent pool. That's where you go, and then you'll come back and you'll be bid on with whatever value you're bid on, and there you go. There'll be more detail to come out about that. I don't want to muddy the waters or say something incorrect based on what I've already kind of spelled out with the captains on how that'll work. But like seeding will matter, and then we'll go through it. The economy aspect is something I want to talk about next. Was there anything else you wanted to look at with like records and performance or anything like that, Keen?
No, I think we're good on that.
There's actually one thing I want to check. I want to look at wins by race. So I don't know a good way to do this. Let's filter it like this. This looks pretty decent. So as far as Zergs, we got Strom Carlin and Tom leading the way in Zergs for the league. When it comes to Zergs, we have at least annotated 28 of the players playing Zerg. Pretty cool. Let's just do it like this. Let's look at Terrans. Terrans, the two players leading the way, Quim and Sva. That's Chaos and Savage sitting with 4 wins. And when it
Nice.
comes
Wow,
to
a value pick, man.
yeah, no kidding. And I'm going to count the active Terran players. We have 37. So higher representation from Terran. Looking at Protoss, I got to get a quick count here. 40. Obviously the most represented. Zerg, not very represented, got to say. Protoss sitting with 3 players with 5 wins. So
Yeah, as always with foreign StarCraft, if you want to succeed, go with the Protoss.
just play toss. Yeah, that Sva guy be smurfing Sva. That's cool. And then we got to do our due diligence, right? We got to check our random player, Mr. Peanut Butter. He's the best.
I'm
He's
glad
the
he finally got
best.
a win. I'm glad he finally got a win.
Yeah, well, his games are fun too, man. I keep an eye on Mr. Peanut Butter because it's fun. Like I said, I see most of what the teams are chatting about. I participate in USL where a bulk of our players are from, and whenever anyone gets paired against Mr. Peanut Butter, they're like, "What? Like, what do I do? I guess I got to prepare for random builds." And so it's a fun thing. It's kind of like the Anderson effect, right? It makes you prepare differently against this player. And Mr. Peanut Butter, he's coming back, right? Like he used to be like, high tier in CPL. He came back, a little rusty. So maybe not knowing where he needs to be paired up. But the fact he's committing to random is fucking awesome. And I love it. and I want more people to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of animosity towards random players, but I feel like it's just a part of Brood War, and you should deal with it.
Yeah, people are like, why don't you play honest random? Why don't you tell me what you are? Well, there goes my advantage. Like you're at a disadvantage from having to learn a gajillion matchups, like every matchup that exists, and being able to do it as soon as you spawn. You're like, oh, okay, I'm Zerg now, and like shifting your brain. The least you can do is just let them have it, right? Okay, let's look at rosters. So we're going to go into each individual team roster, and I want to look at their current SKU bucks. Well, actually, real quick, before I do that, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm getting so excited. This shit's so fun, dude. I love, like, whoever is in this to play the mini game of, like, playing with the data and stuff, I'm there with you. Like, that's why I made this. Let's look at our SKU leaders. Holy savage, by the way. Static, leading the way with 95. Oh, I'm sorry, this is career. This is career. There's an elegant way to look at this. Hold on. Damn. So this is going to be career. It doesn't have just season 2 broken out. I should do that. I'm sorry. I'll break these out. But let's just look at career for the sake of it. So for career SKU bucks, now keep in mind, Keen, you were the SKU buck leader for season 1. I don't think you've gotten
Hmm.
any more SKU bucks since then. So 55 was kind of
No,
like the one
yeah,
season accomplishment. Static.
I have not, and I'd also like to just say, um, you know, to all the haters who are saying like I'm dropping down so I can farm Scoobucks. I mean,
I don't
here
think
you go.
I don't think that that was I didn't take that as an accusation. I thought that was actually a fair point in like the rules. People saying that that was something you could do. I don't
Well,
think that that was
Wolfix and
something that was
Exit were both
expected.
personally telling me that that's what they
Oh,
thought I was doing it for. So,
okay. Well, fair enough. All right. Well, they're going to talk some shit, but it pointed out a great point in the rules, right? To some people's frustration, and might need some tweaking, right? Like if you if to clarify for everyone, there was a rule introduced that in the SKU brackets, because you can be in as many as you want, you may promote from one before the other ones have been completed. And so what we were trying to prevent is like a level 3 player losing level 3, going down to level 2, signing up for a million level 2 tournaments, stomping them all, sweeping up all the cash, and then jumping into a level 3 tournament and just like demoting and doing that on repeat, right? Like infinite SKU buck glitch. We wanted to
yeah,
prevent that. So
no,
it made
it's good that
sense.
the rules were changed, but also that would be so like time inefficient because it takes a long time even if you like immediately demote, it still takes like
Yeah,
3
that's what
weeks.
AOT is saying. It's like, who's got time? Um, I don't know. I don't know. And I mean, SKU brackets by design move slowly, right? Like the fastest they can go is like 6 weeks or something. That's by design. So anyway, we implemented the rule where if you are a higher level than the tournament you're in, you do not get rewarded SKU bucks. It's clean, it's efficient. The problem is, and this has only happened once, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, was someone did that. They promoted. They were going to win or have the potential to win another like level 1 tournament, and instead they just like forfeited out of the tournament. It was like, this doesn't matter anymore.
Oh,
Um, and I'm like,
who
well,
was it? May I ask?
I don't even remember. I think it's a newer player because I had to explain the rules to them, so I don't think they had been around for too long. If you're out there, let me know if you're watching. But anyway, it happened, and I was like, that's true. It kind of disincentivizes playing, and everything is meant to incentivize participation, right? So I'll have to think about that. Overall, I think it's the safer method at the moment. Anyway, so back to this. Static, 95, Flash, 80, Mevius, 60, Doodle, 55. We're getting down to the Keen territory. To make this actually more fun, it really would be better to have it split out. I don't have it that way. I'll do it later. Let's look at rosters. So we talked about a couple things. Your bang for buck. How efficient are teams actually when it comes to their costs? So let's look at the current state. Obviously, captains don't have a cost. They're a permanent position. They don't have contracts. Let's see how much Savage's roster cost them for season 2. 1719. 1719. So let's keep that in mind. Now that's how much they originally cost. Going into season 3, they're going to have to spend 1902 to maintain their current roster. Now, how does money work in Skull with the draft and everything? At the end of every season, I inject funds, right? I think it was 1200 if I remember right. Like and anyone can check this, right? All these sheets are available. Not prestige, I want transactions. So, there was at the beginning of season 2, 1200 credit given to every team. Okay, that's just to keep things going because we don't have sponsors and shit of giving SCU bucks, right? So they need an inject if we're going to do this type of system where the costs increase. So they'll get 1200 bucks at the end of the season as a thank you for playing. Here you can keep playing. They'll also get their prestige money, right? Prestige is the lamest of the mini games I've created. It needs a revamp, but it is what it is right now. They've already maxed out their prestige at 50. And so they'll get 250 SCU bucks for that. So they're at 1,450 SCU bucks with nothing else changing. How much money do they have? 195. Okay, so they're at 1,450 plus 195. Let's just round that up to whatever that is. 1,600. Something like that. 1,450 plus 200. Let's call it 1,600.
1645.
1645. So 1645, but they got to spend 1900 to keep their roster. Do you think they can make 300 more SCU bucks in the next 2 weeks?
Definitely not. Um, yeah, Mevius is saying maybe you should give more. I don't know. I think teams are going to. I don't think any team is going to. So
The reason why it would feel like we need more is because this is fixing the value of the SCU. The SCU disparity from the draft from season 1 is it jacked us up pretty bad. Like the 75% rule made using the economy as a balancing tool and a strategy tool a little difficult. If we continue to inject the same amount every single time and teams earn through prestige and participation in brackets every single time to a certain amount, then the economy will equalize. Like a SCU will have a certain value. We won't see players being drafted for $200. You know what I mean? So this is actually, the fact that they can't afford it, healthy for the league in the long run. But it's going to be a little disruptive early on, and it's going to be really interesting. So if they can't get 300 SCU bucks by the end of the season, there's going to have to be cuts. There's going to have to be cuts. There was a couple of methods we discussed, still not all finalized, but I'll tell you kind of what was discussed and kind of where we landed on hypotheticals. We still need to sort this out before the finals. But what was discussed was, okay, if you can't afford a player, what do you do? And it was like, well, maybe a team should be forced as a punishment for poorly managing their budget to lose their highest cost, like from top down. So like you cut from most expensive down until you're under budget. That allows them to go to the free agent pool. They can be picked up by other teams. There's balance associated there. Yada, yada, yada. Captains didn't like that because that was my idea. Captains were like, James or Manshark, you're an idiot. And I was like, okay, cool. How should we do it? Well, you should just be able to pick. Okay, cool. So right now, they're going to be able to pick. Balance your checkbook, right, on who you send back to the free agent pool. Now, I mentioned this earlier. If you get sent back to the free agent pool as a result of not, yeah, my name's James, as a result of not being able to afford your players, that player doesn't go straight to the free agent pool. They go into that pool where they can be purchased for their either previous season price or their current price. I'm leaning towards previous season price to incentivize the purchase to occur to the other teams directly. by reverse seed order. So like if Savage, and this would all happen like by team. So like if Savage can't afford their players as the number 1 seed, they'd have to cut down to their available spending, or however many they want. They just got to be under their number. Then number 4 seed can come up, and it'll be by player. Like let's say we cut whoever the hell this is. I know this is getting a little complicated. This is why on my priority list I gotta really write this shit out with like visual aids and pictures, and no one will read it anyway, but at least I can point the sign, tap the sign. Let's say Mazer gets cut at 241. Then it would go to like a purchase, not a draft, but a purchase. And it would start with like unhinged. Unhinged, do you want Mazer for 241? They say no. Let's say Legion at the time is number 3 seed. Okay, Legion, do you want him? Yes, no. No. Okay, Chaos, do you want him? And that's how it'll go for every single player. And like all the players will be lined up, and they'll go in that order for every single team, and it'll, like all the information will be present, so you know who you're holding out for, who you're not holding out for, etc. It'll be like picked, kind of like the draft. Like, okay, I want to pick this one, that one, that one, and we'll go through. So that sounded really complicated. These drinks are starting to hit me, so I was a little rambly. That's the idea of how this will work, and their contracts will just be refreshed, so they'll be good to go. Keen, what are your initial thoughts on that? What are your initial thoughts on Savage being 300 SCU bucks in debt to their roster at the moment?
Yeah, well, I honestly think it might be smarter to drop one of our highest players. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like Mazer is really good, but for $266, I don't know if he's worth that much. I think a lot of the high cost players were kind of overvalued just because teams had that influx of scoop bucks, and a lot of teams were hurting for like top talent, so they just went hog wild with it. So I think it would be smart to drop a couple high cost players anyway. Um, I'm probably going to be dropping out myself, and I'll tell Ozzy to drop out as well. So that would be a source of like around like $130, I would say, extra for us. But like, I think teams are also going to go in debt because they're not going to want to drop like hundreds and hundreds of points for new players, right? So I don't know.
Depends what that pool's
It's going to
like,
be
right?
yeah, it depends.
And I mean, the players, like let's say Mazer, let's use Mazer as the example, just because you're really expensive, Mazer, if you're watching this. So Mazer gets cut. None of the teams can afford him, right? He doesn't just like fall off. Like he'll go to the free agent pool. So a team may not want to purchase him because they know, or they think they know, they have a higher chance of bidding for him for cheaper, right, in the free agent pool. To include Savage, right? Savage, you can drop him and you can bid for him, right? Like, there's a lot of moving pieces with this that are really cool. And I do need to get the sequencing worked out with the captains, because Art of Turtle was bringing up, like, what about trades? Trades are a thing, yes. The trade window, we need to sit down and sequence this out. Like, when does the money inject occur? Because how it's been after season 1 was it was sequenced so that all the logistics happened. People resigned. They got their resignation penalty if they wanted to still play, but they just wanted to early exit their team, etc. But they were most flush with cash right before draft. So like injects happened at draft. Prestige bucks happened at draft. We need to shift the inject and the prestige cash and the SCU buck wallet, all that stuff. It all needs to be front loaded. There needs to be a trade window. Or, like I said, we still need to figure it out. Maybe we do the inactivity drops first, then a trade window, then a budget fixing, then the draft. Right? That way you don't like buy someone that someone else wants and then trade them, or maybe we want that. I don't know. I gotta talk to the captains about that. But that's the general idea of how this will work. But yeah, crazy stuff. Like you're saying, there's some easy cuts. AFK people, the idea of dropping people because of their cost is kind of part of the healing process of the wild pricings, right? Like 241 for 2 wins, that's insane. That's so expensive with how much you get each season when you have 2 wins down here for $20. 3 wins by Shimmer for 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So I forgot so it was like 1,600 total bucks for Savage with a $1,900 season 3. Let's go ahead and look at these other teams. So over here on Chaos, we have season 3 cost. Okay. They will only owe 1660 and they've got 93 in the bank, right? So 17 whatever, 50, 1760. So 1760, that's 200 less than Savage has to deal with. And after they get their 1450, they'll only need 1550, maybe 100 SKU bucks to make this work.
Hmm.
That's not too bad. Oh, and get this. Toss is inactive. There's 100 SKU bucks right there.
Yeah. Or even Radley, depending on how quickly he's going to recover from his injury.
Yeah. Bradley's cheap too for his skill level. That's insane.
Yeah, the season 2 picks were way overvalued compared to season 1 picks.
Season 1 was just all over the place. Like there's very little core. Like you had weaker players going for way high. You had high players going for stupid high. Art of Turtle says he's fairly valued. Where are you? Where are you, AOT? 69. Yeah, you're valued right. Yeah, baby. All right, let's go ahead and look at Unhinged. So I think Chaos is going to be sitting okay. What they're going to be concerned about is how do we position ourselves to have cash for the draft, right? Because you got to have something left over if you want to pick anyone up. Let's look at Unhinged. Now, Unhinged, they're the ones I'm really curious about. Now, they have a similar Scubuck wallet as Chaos. How much does their roster cost? Their roster is 1627, so about 50 or 40 less than Chaos. And they've got some inactivity, man. Like, there's some easy drops here.
Mm-hmm.
1450 plus 100, 1550. They've got less than 100 SKU bucks that they need to make up. And I think they might be able to do it. So,
well, Nesh and Exit are probably going to get dropped as well.
yeah, that's pretty crazy right there, right? Now, if they stick around, I think that they'll help a lot with the healing process. But I mean, imagine if Nesh and Exit leave, right? We drop some of these AFK. That's like about 400 SKU bucks. Unhinged is going to be entering this draft with the draft advantage if they stay seed 4,
Mm-hmm.
and with the most cash. So like they
Yeah.
could clean up, right? Like this,
Yeah.
and really bolster their roster.
I don't even know if they should necessarily like. I feel like Nash will come back and probably start playing again. I'm not sure he's even aware that he can, but they should definitely drop Exit.
Yeah, interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. Like the captains and their teams have a lot to think about, and I also really want to stress that like, and I'll try to be as sensitive as possible on this. Getting cut because of cost should not make you feel like it's the end of the world, right? That's the wrong filter I want. That's the wrong one too.
I feel like
Where
the
am I?
players who are like good enough to get high bids are probably also like experienced enough not to take it personally.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, you never know, but
Yeah. It's just a feel bad, right? Like seeing some of the players that have maybe lower win loss ratios and how they come back to their teams after a match and stuff like that. People care, right? Like they want to give back. This was a contentious issue between me and the captains. I was lobbying a little bit towards not dropping players because I want to avoid the feel bad. But the logic makes so much sense. Like on paper, this works. This just works. Like we can just like tie a bow on it with the inflation and the contracts. Like the mobility will happen naturally. The balance should be getting tighter and tighter every season. I just don't want people to quit because they're like, "Fuck this! I got cut from my team. Screw StarCraft." Right? Like that's not the goal of this league. Um,
yeah,
let's go ahead and look at Legion. So Legion is kind of splitting the difference between the Unhinged and Chaos roster costs and Savage, right? So they've got 1720, but they have 157 in the bank already. So 180, 189. So 189, we can round that to 1900. 1900, we're in a similar boat as freaking Savage though, right? They're going to be getting 1450. Oh no, I screwed up my math there. 1450 plus the 150, so that's 1600. So they have about 120 to make up. So I think they'll be okay too. Like they'll find a way to make this work. Um, who's inactive here? Oh yeah, they got a few inactives for sure. Yeah, I think Savage is gonna be the hardest hit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like yeah, definitely all the inactives, possibly like the Ocean, is a little overvalued for only playing once and getting a loss. People in the chat were discussing earlier, like, oh, semi's still worth it. I mean, I agree, but what I typed in chat is that I do think that semi is potentially worth it because even when he's inactive, he can still like pop into chat and like help people with strategy and advice, coaching. But it depends on the team dynamic. If like people aren't taking advantage of him as a resource in that regard, then there's no point in him sticking around, really.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great point. And then like other things too. We look at like other SKU bucks, right? Like Ed and Eddie fan. He's racking in cash for the team too, right? Like that's got to be a factor, you know? Like who what are the other things outside of just getting us a score? You know, like who's helping actually raise funds for us? Something we implemented was, you know, for every series that you cast on YouTube or Twitch, you earn $5 for your team, right?
Hmm.
Staged has been doing it. There's a few. I actually do want to give them a little bit of a shout out, but I don't remember everyone. Right? So when it comes to reasons, let's just look at casts real quick. Like look at all these casts that have happened already. Like Staged is on there 4 times for Chaos, so he's already earned 20 SKU bucks just by being a member of the community and casting. Ed and Eddie Fan done it 3 times with Gookin, two. And I think these guys aren't even on the same team, and they were casting together, right? And so
Hmm.
if you have a duo cast, I'll award both of you 5 SKU bucks for that. So there's definitely ways for teams to make casts. Now, a peanut gallery cast, I'm not going to award everyone. It maxes out at 2. Um, but yeah, just really cool ways. Mick Taryn got in on it, did a cast. And I know there's others that
Yeah.
have shown interest as well. Like,
Yeah, let's have our whole team cast.
yeah, like cast your own matches, right? Like if you
No,
just
I
go
mean
in,
like no, I mean if the peanut gallery rule wasn't there,
oh
like we just
yeah.
have a whole team casting one match.
Yeah, just like send me the audience who is involved. Like, here's our 40 players. Yeah, I have to think through people doing dumb shit like that. Uh, cool, cool. I think there's a lot to think about going into season 3. Not to overshadow the playoffs and the finals. I think the playoffs and the finals are going to be really really cool. There's still some opportunity for Scubucks to be earned through the brackets, through casting. Um, and then once we finalize the trading rules, I think that this season we're going to see trades. We didn't see that before. I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, man? Going into season 3, if we start thinking about that now, so we can be prepared for it. And a couple of questions I have that we haven't discussed. Do you think we need a break? Are people burnt for this shit? Like
I
you're
don't think
stopping.
yeah, but it's not related to this. I don't think any of the crash outs were really related to this. Um, like maybe Nash because he was like, I
His was
guess
after BSL, wasn't it?
it was after like IPSL,
That's what it
and
was. Yeah.
I think losing to Tim also kind of influenced him. Like I think he was just tilted that weekend, and like he was playing a lot, and just it was like the culmination of everything. Um, but like for the most part, I don't think any crash outs were related to this really. um, for me, it was just realizing like, I don't really feel like playing very much anymore. So like that's why I've made the decision already to like drop out so my team can have extra funds next season. Um, if I do decide to come back, I'll just get picked again. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's just like we said earlier, it's the normal like ebb and flow of StarCraft players. Like people have lives
It's a tough
now.
game
We're all
too.
like, yeah,
And like you put so
and
much practice and effort into it, and then like if the performance isn't there, or maybe other aspects of your life are like falling off, like oh my gosh, I haven't talked to
yeah,
my friends in a week because I've been grinding.
yeah,
Like
yeah. It's like it takes a lot of time to be good, and it's also stressful. So it's like, you know, you work all day, you take care of your other life responsibilities, and then like your fun time is playing this like stressful game.
Yeah.
So, um,
Manadog told me something the other day. What was it? I wasn't having I don't remember the situation, but I thought it was he hit the nail on the head so hard. I was playing in UPL, and I think it was like a match that mattered. And I was like, "Oh man, I hope I do well or something." And he's like, "Don't worry, you'll probably get stomped, but just know that your performance in StarCraft is directly related to your value as a human." And he was saying it
yeah,
jokingly, but like
yeah,
unjokingly, I feel like a lot of us can like feel that way at times, right? Like, oh man, I suck at this game in this community built around this game. I'm not as good as a person as these other people, and that just adds to the stress, right, and the frustration. So,
yeah. Well, when you've been around for long enough, you realize that the people who spend too much time playing this are unstable, maladjusted individuals. So,
yeah, yeah, it's funny. It's good stuff. Um, we kind of went off on a tangent there. I kind of forgot what we were talking about. We were talking about going into season three. I think that that could be a whole episode on its own. We probably
yeah.
need to start advertising. Do you think we need to grow this shit? Do you think the size is too big? Oh, that's what it was. Do we need a break?
No, I don't think we need a break. That's what I was getting at. Is I think the people crashing out or like any of the activity problems are unrelated to this. So we should keep it as brief as possible, just like the first season between the second season, because I
Gosh,
think having consistent content will keep people around, and the people who aren't going to stay around weren't going to stay around regardless.
yeah, yeah, maybe. I gotta think about it. I was half hoping you'd say like, yeah, we need a little bit of a break because that's where I'm
Well,
at. I'm like, we might
if you
need a
need a
little bit of a
break,
break. Well,
maybe we should have.
I think there's a balance, right? There's like you want to keep the seasons short enough so you can get to those real high points. Um, let me kind of lay out my thoughts. The most hype points of the season are the draft and the finals, right? I would maybe even say week one, but the draft by far, like other Discord servers outside of SCU are talking about it, right? Like they're like, "Hey, you should sign up for this the free agent pool. You should join Skull. Hey, I hope I get drafted to this team. Hey, what's the deal with this? Blah blah blah." Like that, people talk about it. They're like, "How's this team going to be going into season two?" There's a lot of hype. People tune in for the draft. There's watch parties to watch the draft. Um, that's like the really exciting time. And so
Yeah,
that you go into the season, week one and two, very exciting. Everyone's like, how are we stacking up? Like participation is at an all-time high. Then we got to balance how long does it go, right? 6 weeks felt pretty good for a regular season. Like we're gonna be done this weekend. It didn't feel too bad. Maybe a few factors because like summer people dropping out. We saw a little bit of deviation with Savage and Unhinged, but I think that's going to correct with the economy as we just looked at over time, like maybe one or more two more seasons. What do you think about the length? Is that too long?
no, I think the length is good actually. I think it's like right in that mid range where it's like not too short, not too long. I think if it goes for like 3 months or something, it's like way too long, and
That's
people
too
get
long.
then they'll get bored of it.
Yeah, we got to hit those high points again, right? We got to have a next draft on the horizon, right? We got to have a next finals on the horizon. Um,
People love drafts. They love making lists. It's like
well, and they
some
love
sort of
seeing what happens
inherent
to
thing.
them, right? Like,
Yeah.
where am I going to end up, right? Who is going to be my teammate? Who am I going to be matched up against? And so we want to keep those hits coming. So okay, 6 weeks. Let's say that makes sense. The 2 week finals. I'm still trying to figure out the finals format. The gauntlet was cool, but I didn't like the people not playing. Finals was cool. I think this time will be fun. Yeah, just do drafts. We'll just pick each other Mevius over and over again, and play marbles. That's all the server's interested in. There's there's a couple things on the back burner as well that we've talked about, but we haven't executed. There's the potential for a B league. There's the potential for new teams to be introduced. What are your thoughts on those two aspects?
Um, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know how those would be balanced. Like either of those, it feels like it would be a really hard thing to like balance properly. Um, and it would like almost you would almost have to like flush everyone's roster and start from scratch, I feel like, in order to get the teams even having a remotely similar spread of players.
Yeah, that'd be a
So
toughie.
the coaches will probably be against that.
Yeah, that's probably a heavier topic to hit. How about other details? Looking back in hindsight, the 20 players was interesting. Um, I like it personally. I think 20 players is a good sweet spot for the number of players we have in the league. I expected a lot more empty slots than what we got. And as you and I just looked at, we have 40 players that are eligible for the Ironman uh, tag, award, gamer achievement, whatever you want to call it, which is a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's really good. I think the 20 players is I was really worried about the 20 players at the start of the season
I
because
wasn't sure how it was
um
going to go.
well yeah, well, I mean we saw it at the end and we've been talking about the crash outs all throughout. And this happens at like every level. It's not like the top just the top players or anything. So I think the fact that like Unhinged was hit the worst, but they still only had like two forfeits really. Every round for like the last three rounds. I thought it was going to be worse for every team, including Savage, but I think it turned out well, and we saw a lot of players who wouldn't otherwise ever see the light of day being able to play.
Yeah, and that was the intent behind it, right? Like the lower level players that didn't get opportunities in season one felt like, why am I even in this? Now every single roster is needing to be completely utilized. Exits Papa. Need more games cast. I agree. I just don't have the time. That's why I'm incentivizing casting. I'm like, please, community, please cast. And everyone's like, get bent. And then they cast like everything else under the sun. No, I agree. I would love more casts. I need to do more casts. It just hasn't been fitting in the schedule. Life is getting busier for me. So 20 players, cool on that. Do you think the current season format? I know we're way over time, but I'm just digging this so much. Let me know if you got to go, and we'll just shut everyone up. And we'll go raid somebody. But like, do we think that the format for this round robin was should be like our standard format, or do you think I should change it and make it unique every single season?
Uh, I think. Well, I don't know. I'm not really sure who that would appeal to. I feel like having stability is good.
Yeah, I guess there's a different audience for both. Well, I guess if we're going for stability, do you think that the two teams per week lineup generation, which I gotta admit went better with the captains than I thought it would, um, like it went pretty damn smoothly every week. We lost about 1 day of gameplay because Mondays were kind of like roster drafting, but no one ever played on Mondays anyway, so it wasn't like that big of a hit.
Yeah, I think the two teams a week is good, and I think it opens things up to an interesting dynamic where like you said, like teams can try to like stack against one particular team if there's an opportunity to like push someone down in the rankings and gain an advantage themselves.
Yeah, I think there's unexplored strategy. Looking in at how each week was approached, there's definitely a lot more thought than probably the average Skull player realizes the captains are putting into it. Like the captains, they're not just willy-nilly doing this on their phone like when they're at work. They may be at work or whatever, but like I know they've held off on picking people because they're like, "Hey, I need to go back. I need to look at your roster. I need to look at my roster. I need to compare win rates. I need to look at like they're studying this shit. Like we got the nerds in charge of these teams right now, and it's the like great people to be doing this for each of the teams. I think
Mhm.
there's still unexplored territory when it comes to what's our end goal. And I might be wrong. Maybe the captains have been focusing on this, but I think there might be opportunities for min maxing. I think there might be opportunities for like resetting your goals after a couple weeks and projecting like, hey, over the next 3 weeks, this is where we're at. We're in seed three. Is seed one realistic still? If yes, then this. If no, then how do we secure that, third or second seed for this? And then like optimizing for that goal as opposed to just like splitting your best six players across two lineups as opposed to stacking them on one, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Exits Papa is Nomad, so I'm going to try to bully him into casting with me.
Well, thank you for jumping in the chat, Nomad. First time chat, he was just like saying cast more. Please cast some of the games, Nomad. I'll check you some bucks.
We are
Um
one of the duos of all time.
yeah, do it. Do it, man. Do it. Uh okay, so we go about the round robin. Pretty good format. I think it was well received by all. It actually worked. We saw that there's some self-balancing opportunities within there, and I think there's unexplored territory, which could be cool. If we move on from that, going into the finals, again, the gauntlet one was a little bit confusing for people. It was uh we had only two teams playing per week, which sucked. Like that was the biggest takeaway from that. Like we cannot do that. We lose interest. It drops off so hard if like a team's not playing for 2, 3 weeks in a row. We can't do that. So this time I did it the way I did. I don't like that if you immediately lose, you go into basically fighting for third. There's no like comeback mechanic. Is that the cleanest way to do it, or do you think there's a better way to do finals brackets?
I think it's fine.
Think it's fine. Okay. Well, we'll see. We haven't done it yet. That's kind of just like going through the whole season and what we think. So
I think there's no like tournament organization that is perfect, but I think the way that it is right now is like pretty standard and pretty fair. So
yeah, and Mevius brings up a good point, right? Like you don't need a comeback mechanic for playoffs. That's what the season's for, right? Like in a world where we had more teams, like let's say we had 8 teams, then the season would be to even get to the playoffs. But that's not really the intent here, right? We have our 4 teams. They're meant to last forever. They're earning prestige, so for bragging rights, awards, etc. They're all going to play, but the seeding gives you that little edge, that little advantage, that little piece going into it. And I think that's probably enough. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Cool. Well, we've rambled on for almost 2 hours at this point. I think we should probably call it. Any stone unturned that you think we need to talk about, Keen?
no, I think we're good. And I think you were right. Like we could definitely have like an interim podcast if you're down for it in between the seasons to talk about more season three stuff in depth if you would like. Um, yeah, I think we're pretty good for tonight.
Yeah, it turns out some people actually watch this. We missed 2 weeks, and people are coming out of the woodwork being like, "Yo, where's our too cool for school?" I was like, I like one, we it was my fault. I just missed it. But it was really refreshing. I gotta say, it was I was really proud to have people asking for it. I was like, that's weird. I didn't really know people were enjoying it, but we're trying to hit a bunch of different audiences with like the mini games associated with the economy, the prestige, the players themselves. If all you want to do is come in and just play games, you can do that. If you want to nerd out and listen to me and a bird talk, we can do that as well. So very cool. You're playing League, so you can watch this. I love that. I love that. All right, cool, Keen. Well, hey, it was great catching up. Hopefully, everyone can be satisfied with the 2 hour episode to make up for the last 2 weeks. And yeah, well, let's keep this going. Let's do it in the off season. I'll
Yeah,
think
for
about
sure.
the off season amount of time. There's the only time I want to take a break, or I'm considering taking a break, is during CPL season.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be a fair time. CPL is pretty long though, isn't it? What is it, like 2 months, 3 months?
I think it's at least like 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
That's not too bad. A season of ours is like 2 months, so maybe we can do. I don't know. I was thinking like 4 seasons a year makes sense with how our contract structure is. I don't know. I'll put some thought into it, but yeah, cool, cool. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and find somebody to raid. If you're still awake at this time, if you're listening to me drown on and listening to Keen's really good takes, let's find somebody. Not a whole lot of Brood War going on here. Artosis is still on. Wow. You know, one of these days I'm gonna catch a raid from him, and we'll be set for money tournaments for life once they get their hands on Tangia. We got Pig. You know what? We'll raid him anyway. One day he'll raid me. Have fun listening to TTS, y'all. We gotta wait. We gotta wait the 10 seconds for the raid. So annoying. Alright, I apologize for what you're about to see.